Sens TV, we just had Troy Mann on, the chief amateur scout with the Ottawa Senators. Of course, this is Pierre Dorion, the general manager, now getting set for the red and white scrimmage live from the Richcraft Sensplex. Steve Lloyd, AJ Jacobek with you from TSN 1200. All right, I asked Trent this similar question. I want your perspective. You're picking at 22. You have a chance to move down. Take me through that process, because he was pretty excited to get that extra pick, and you got two of these defensemen to watch here tonight.
Yeah, no, when we got to pick 22, we knew there was still a few guys on the board that we really liked. We liked the depth of the draft, that we figured wherever we could move in the second round, we would get another player that we felt would be a very good NHL player down the road. We talked to every team from 22 to 31, and we were able to find a match with the Rangers that they had picked 26 and 28. We were able to get one of those two picks, and they had a multitude of picks in the second round. And we felt we did a really good deal for the value of getting those two picks afterwards.
The number 4 pick, Brady Tkachuk. I think a lot in this market. There's always going to be that comparison going forward with Tkachuk, with Zadina.
Yeah.
What was it about Brady Tkachuk that you felt comfortable with to pass on such a talent like Filip Zadina at 4?
Well, they were both good players. You know, they were the next two guys on our list. There's no secret about that. Even afterwards, we had great discussions all the way through 10 about who we could take it for. But when it comes to picking a guy like Tkachuk, it was the intangibles. Obviously, we feel that their skill levels are very close to each other. We feel that guys like Brady Tkachuk, the power forward element, those guys are impossible to get on trade markets. You got to draft those guys. And for us to get a guy like him, we were really excited to do so. And we've talked a lot in the last 2 weeks about the character, the accountability, the leadership, and we know that Brady can bring all those elements to the table.
Is it that much more important now? I mean, fighting seems to be going by the wayside, not 100%, but it's nowhere near what it used to be. So those guys, you watch Washington in the finals, you see Smith-Pelly, you see Ovechkin, you see some of the guys, Tom Wilson playing, and he's not going to be any of those 3 players, but just the value of a guy who can play a physical game but also have that skill. Is that even greater now that fighting has diminished?
I think that's a great point, AJ. I think when you look at it, where the goals are being scored now all around the net area for the most part, and the ability to win battles because there's less fighting, having that strength and the size, I think becomes even a bigger factor. Because if you can have that physical presence night in, night out, and there's less fighting, well, you're going to bother the opposition even more.
All right, let's move on to some other matters here. You are in a very busy time of year, let's put it that way. You got free agency coming up on Saturday. Now, I know at the draft you said you didn't really want to get into any of your players here, but I'll kind of ask you that way. How busy will you be in the coming days with maybe some of your current roster players, let alone free agents? Is there a possibility of some signings of some players that need contracts between now, I don't know, say Tuesday?
When it comes to possible contracts, possible trades, possible roster moves, we're really not going to get into that today. Today's about development camp. The one thing I can tell you, and people have seen it, is that we've gone through the process of buying out Alex Burrows, so hopefully one of the players here can take his spot in the lineup this year. But when it comes to our roster, we're going to try and not tip our hand too much, not talk too much about strategies, because we've learned that sometimes when you do things and after the fact, I think our fans are as excited about it.
All right, Burrows will be the only buyout in this window?
In this window, Burrows will be the only buyout.
Okay. All right.
Who's impressed you this week?
That's a good question. Obviously, we can all talk about Logan Brown. We can all talk about Brady Tkachuk. We can all talk about Colin White. But the guy that we've really noticed personally is our other first rounder in Jacob Bernard-Docker. Is someone I watched on video and never saw in person, and how he does things at an elevated pace has really impressed us. Guys like Parker Kelly, the work ethic has really impressed us. Sturts that we signed out of Penn State, another guy with a high level work ethic, has really impressed us. As far as goaltending, maybe someone that was a bit off the map last year, Jordan Hollett. I've seen him stop a lot of pucks at this camp. So those are the guys that maybe not the big names, but that have left an impression.
You've got a few guys here. This is their 4th dev camp, like Colin White and Gabriel Gagne. How many players do you think at this particular camp have a realistic chance to make your big roster coming up opening night in October?
Well, we'd like to have a lot of them. We know we can't win with all kids.
Yeah.
So it's always finding the right mix and match of veterans and implementing young players in our lineup. So, if you see Colin White's here, he's got probably the best chance of all the kids. I think guys like Logan Brown has a very good chance. Depending how the next few weeks go with Brady Tkachuk, we said we'd assess the situation for a possible contract signing at the end of development camp and sit down with his representatives at that point in time. You look at someone like Christian Wolanin. I think he's got a good chance the way he finished. He wasn't someone that just stepped in our lineup. He actually stepped in our lineup and did some good things.
Did that surprise you? It surprised us. We knew he was a good prospect. He played so well right away.
Yeah. I will say it surprised us a bit, but at the end of the day, it didn't surprise us at all because he had such a good year. He was such a dominant player at North Dakota that we felt that he was very close to the NHL, and whether he spends time in Belleville or comes directly to Ottawa, we know down the road he's a solid NHL player.
What are some of the options for Brady Tkachuk? We know about Boston University. Obviously, Ottawa could be an option, but is Belleville an option? Is the OHL an option? I mean, what are you looking at right now?
You know what? It's a good question again, AJ. We don't know. It's been a whirlwind for the kid, going from from the combines to interviews to being on Hockey Night in Canada to visiting teams to being drafted. I don't think the family's had the chance really to sit down and look at all their options, and we're going to be very respectful of what they want to do. We're going to give our suggestions on where we think Brady should play in the upcoming year, but we're going to be really respectful of them. We have a good relationship with the family advisor and Craig Oster, and we said that we'd let this week go by with the development camp, and within the next 2 weeks we'd sit down and talk to them.
All right, who else is anybody jumped off the page so far at this development camp? I know you always stress it's a development camp. It's not an evaluation camp, but come on, you're always evaluating.
Yeah, we are always evaluating. Someone else that probably has stepped up, when you look at guys like Jonathan Gruden, he's tough not to notice. And we've been looking a bit more at the newer guys we drafted, and Angus Cruikshank.
Great name.
Yeah, love the name. So those are guys that are really that have popped out. We're over the last few days we've looked at a few of those guys, a few guys that could be possibly college free agents. I'm not going to give names there. So we're really looking forward to tonight, and it's a great thing. It's 35 degrees outside, standing room only. First time we've added in the East End, and for our fans to come and support us like this, I think it's just a wonderful thing.
How important, when you talk about development, how important is to get Belleville better as well?
Oh, to get Belleville better is a priority. I think we have to put our kids, our prospect, in an environment where they can win. It's not just about putting a bunch of kids down there and letting them figure it out. If you do that, you're not going to learn how to win. So adding quality veterans down there is a key focus of us moving forward.
And you brought in Troy Mann as head coach, a guy who had quite a bit of success at Hershey. What did you like about him to put him in that role?
Well, when we were going through the interview process, something just clicked right away with us. And when we sat down, just Troy and myself at the draft, there was just a synergy between the both of us that we felt. Obviously, he's met with Guy, and you look at, I think, 13 players off the Washington Capitals played for Troy. There was a few on the Vegas Golden Knights who also played for Troy. And Troy understands the league. He's got the experience. He understands how important winning is, but how important development is, and finding that great mix. And I told Troy that right now he's probably my second favorite man in the Mann family, but we're very happy to have him on board.
Well, there'll be a sibling rivalry there. Like, you're not playing my prospects enough. Well, you didn't draft well enough, so that'll go on. I'm sure you'll have to mediate at some point in the future.
At some point in time, we'll mediate.
All right, always a pleasure, Pierre. Thanks for stopping by.
Thank you.
Pierre Dorion, General Manager of the Ottawa Senators. Scrimmage is about to get underway. It's a red and white game. We're live at the Richcraft Sensplex. We're back in a moment on Sens TV.